The watch we're looking at today on the channel is an absolutely outrageous piece, perhaps the most outrageous watch that I've ever put my hands on. It's called the Xoskeleton Superlative Star. I did not purchase this piece, but it is being lent into the channel by Average Joe Watch Reviews, so thank you Average Joe for letting me look at this watch for a little while. Right off the bat, it's a big piece, it's a bold piece, it's a unique piece, and to me, it's quite outrageous to say the least. And so we're just going to dive in and look at it in more detail for a full review of this Xoskeleton watch, so stay tuned. Alright, well here it is, the Xoskeleton Superlative Star in all its exotic, outrageous glory. This watch does come with a case. You can see there, Xoskeleton. It's kind of hard on the outside and has this little pad you can put the watch on. Kind of reminds me of a sunglasses case or something like that. But talking about the watch, let's quickly throw up some specs and features here on the left. I don't really know what the model number for this piece is. I did learn from Average Joe's video about this watch that it is a Chinese-made watch. It does contain a Swiss movement of some kind. This particular model has a quartz movement, and you can see that the battery needs to be changed. It's not ticking as it ought to. Not sure exactly what kind of Swiss quartz movement it has. There is a sapphire crystal here. It does have a slight dome to it to conform to the rest of the watch there. The case material is 904L stainless steel, which is a unique point to mention. Most watches today that are stainless steel from other brands like Citizen and Seiko, they usually use 316L stainless steel, but this has 904L stainless steel. And from what I've learned, 904 is better. It's more scratch resistant and it's more resistant to different acids. So that is a selling point for this piece. Of course, this is a huge watch. As you can see, the case diameter is 50 millimeters. Not so thick. It has a good thickness of about 13 millimeters. Now the lug to lug is interesting. We'll talk more about these unique lugs, but the lug to lug is 64.5 millimeters as I measured it. Lug width is 22 millimeters, and the band material is somewhat in question. It does say on the back of the case that it's 904 stainless steel as far as the case goes. But I'm not sure about the bracelet. Perhaps it's the same. Water resistance is to 100 meters, and you can see that this is not a light watch. You can see the weight there as well. Let's talk about the design and durability of this watch. I've already said it 100 times. The design is outrageous to me. It's definitely exotic, very unique. And this is a monster of a watch, definitely very hefty. Now the case, talk about the case first. The case is basically completely overshadowed by the bezel. The bezel here, which we'll talk about in a moment, but you can turn it over and you can see the case underneath, and you can see how the long curved lugs protrude there from the case. And the lugs are very unique, very long, 64.5 millimeter lug to lug. But the way it fits on the wrist, because of that curvature, it actually feels quite nice. It's almost as if the lugs are part of the bracelet itself. And on my 6.5-inch wrist, the watch doesn't feel that bad. And you can see some wrist shots here of me wearing this piece. The crown and pushers are well protected. You wouldn't even know they were there due to the bezel, and they're very hard to access because of the bezel overlapping them. The crown is a simple push-pull crown, not screw down, but very hard to use for sure. Now the bezel seems to be the star of the show. It's definitely bold. It's over the top. You can see there's these inset rubies. I think there's 8 of them. Now, these are lab grown. They're not natural rubies. You can see there's knurling texture around the bezel, which you can see throughout the piece as well. You got these unique portions of stainless steel that are literally screwed on. At first I thought they might be fake screws, but they definitely appear to be true and there for a purpose. I didn't mention the case back, but there's also screws there holding down the case back, 6 of them. So if you want to change the battery, you're going to need a very tiny screwdriver to get those out to change the battery. The dial is, in my opinion, not too bad of a looking dial. There's a lot going on. Obviously, you have a moon phase there. You have a chronograph feature. You also have the month on the outside here, and you have also the weeks indicated, 52 weeks, right next to where the months are. And then you have a day subdial and a date subdial, and of course you have the seconds hand and the hour and minute hand as well. There is some texturing to the dial. You can see this white portion has some texture to it. Also the indices are applied, a nice triangular look to the indices. Sometimes I get confused. I put the watch upside down because both the 12 o'clock indice and the 6 o'clock indice are basically exactly the same, so that kind of got a little confusing to me unless you look closely. Something that is neat about this watch, I guess you'd call that the chapter ring in there, but you can see that there's engraving exoskeleton continuously on the inside. That's kind of reminiscent of some Rolex watches. That's kind of a nice, unique touch. And as far as I know, there's no lume whatsoever on this watch. At first, I questioned whether there was some on the hour and minute hand here, but I don't think that there is. The bracelet seems to be well made. The lugs, or excuse me, the links are very short, and you can see they have screw pins there. They're very short, and so you should be able to get a good fit on your wrist, and there are some micro adjustments here on the clasp. The clasp seems to be quality. Now, this watch has been worn, and I think Average Joe has had this piece for more than 8 years, if I remember right. So you're going to see some dirt and some scratches and different wear and tear to this piece, but really it's a solid piece that seems to have held up well. Something interesting to note about the bracelet, you can take it off with a hex tool or Allen wrench, but if you were to take it off, I don't think you could just add whatever bracelet you wanted. It seems it's only made for this one, so I'm not sure what the purpose of taking the bracelet off would be. It's almost as if it's just integrated into the watch, because as you can see, the way the links are inserted into one another, it would only fit this bracelet. So something to take note of there. Talking about price, I'm not sure if they're still making these watches. I looked on eBay. You can find some there. On the sold items list, I found that some have been sold between $100 and $200, some new, some used. So you can look on eBay if you're interested in purchasing this watch. But definitely unique, to say the least. And just want to say thanks again to Average Joe for letting me borrow it. I'm going to get back in front of the camera and share my final verdict of this exoskeleton watch. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I really think that this exoskeleton watch is an absolutely outrageous piece. I think it's the type of watch that you either have to absolutely love or you're going to absolutely hate it. And I am on the side of absolutely hating this watch. It might sound a little bit harsh, and I'm sorry, Average Joe. I hope this doesn't offend you in any way, but I think I would rather not wear a watch at all than wear this exoskeleton piece. Number one, it's way too big for me, and plus I think it's terribly hideous, to say the least. So that's my opinion, that's my thoughts about this watch. I know Average Joe at one time liked it, but I don't think he does now. And but it's still a piece he's keeping in his collection just to see the history of where he's been and where he is now in his tastes. And this is definitely a watch that I think has to be an acquired taste for sure. Those are my thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts about this watch down in the comments. Let me know. Do you love it? Do you hate it? I want to hear from you, and we can interact down there in the comments about this exoskeleton piece. So thanks for tuning in to the video today, J City Reviews. I hope you'll subscribe. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. Once we reach that goal, we'll do another major watch giveaway. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And that's it for today. We'll see you next time here on J City Reviews.